In Russia, there is a law providing for criminal prosecution for calls for separatism. Those who wish to break Russia's integrity may face up to 5 years in prison. You can get 5 years only for voicing your position out loud, merely for your beliefs, not actions. Those who not only believe but take arms in their hands to stand up for their beliefs are simply killed by the government. 5 insurgents were destroyed in Dagestan. They were hiding in the dugout and fired at the Special Force team. Their bodies are being identified right now. Dagestan here was not chosen at random. This Russian republic, located north of Caucasus Mountains, is considered to be the second most important oil-producing region in whole Eurasia after Persian Gulf countries. Dagestan is synonymous with oil from Caspian Sea. The myth about Russian Caucasus republics living at cost of Moscow is only a mass media myth, as well as similar myths about Nazis in Ukraine were made up by Russian propaganda. There are at least 12 potential pockets of separatism in Russia, and these movements are being brutally oppressed by Kremlin. The term used by Russian state media for these oppressive special operations by Russian military in Caucasus is destroying of insurgent forces. But at the same time, on the same TV screens, same Russian journalists call pro-Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine not insurgents, but militia or home guards. It's absolutely clear why they do it. Moscow is trying its best to preserve integrity of its fragile empire, but cynically intervenes into internal affairs of Ukraine. While pro-Russian separatism in Ukrainian Donbass is mostly artificial and has been invented by Kremlin propaganda, movements and aspirations of some Russian regions for independence from Russia are natural and have strong support among their population. Moscow is a typical colonial metropolis that sweeps all cash from its regions, leaving them almost nothing, hence the myth about Caucasus living at cost of Moscow. In Dagestan, for example, Russian federal government takes all money from the republic, leaving the minimum cash in local budget, barely sufficient to only support themselves, let alone development and thriving. Dagestan, being potentially rich region of Russian Federation, can't make its both ends meet, living from one pittance from Moscow to another, while it could develop just like Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia with all its oil. But those in Dagestan who try to say something about independence from Russia are simply destroyed by a special military force sent from Moscow. Law enforcement got the lead that members of terrorist group from Makhachkala may be hiding in this house. They tried to break the cordon, but they were destroyed. Now, what do we know about people who took arms in their hands in eastern Ukraine? There is no political or economical background for separatism here, but after so-called Luhansk and Donetsk people republics were self-proclaimed, the situation here in Donbass can be described as humanitarian disaster because many civilians die here. Pensions and other social benefits are not paid. Many important coal mines and enterprises were destroyed, as well as the roads and other infrastructure of the region. Civilians die every day killed by Russian terrorists. Using the support of local Russian speakers as a shield, Putin started this bloody war between Russia and Ukraine for his own personal ambitions and for the railroad to occupied Crimea. Kremlin regularly supplies lethal weapons and new military personnel to continue this meaningless war. Putin does not need strong and rich Ukraine. He cares less for thriving Donbass, because if Russians would see an example of free and independent successful Ukraine, he won't be able to rip off his own people as he does now. But Putin cornered himself, not realizing that his own country, Russian Federation, is more fragile than it seems. Trying to punish Ukraine as a rebellious neighbor and to return it to Russian sphere of influence by military intervention, Putin risks facing the uncontrolled reaction in Russia itself in a form of regional separatism and chaos. Economical and political sanctions from Western countries, collapse of Russian national currency, and falling oil prices will inevitably lead to the deepest crisis in Russian Federation, to hunger strikes, and eventually to the loss of national integrity. Siberia and Chechnya have been dreaming of independence for years. Tokyo wants to see its northern territories, Kurili Islands, back in Japan. Germany waits for its Königsberg to get back home, as well as Ukraine waits for Kuban, and Dagestan has all chances in the world to become the new oil tiger of Caucasus. Separatism, which Putin exports to Ukraine, will return to him like multiple boomerangs and can destroy Russia in the nearest future.